Okay, quick question for you. If I asked you right now, what percentage of the entire global population lives in extreme poverty today? What would you say?
Oh, wow. Straight in. Based on everything I see, the headlines, the constant talk about inequality, it has to be huge. I'm going to say, what, maybe half the world? 50%.
50%.
Yeah.
And, that reaction is so common. That dramatic high guess is exactly the systematic error we're diving into today.
So I'm wrong.
Very. The current global figure for people living in extreme poverty is actually 9%.
9! No way! That just sounds wildly optimistic. How is that even possible with everything we hear about?
It's accurate. And here's the bombshell. This is why we're digging into Hans Rosling's book, Factfulness. He found that when he asked people these basic global questions about poverty, about vaccination rates, people scored worse than random chance.
Worse than random.
Worse than if they had let a chimpanzee pick the answers.
Okay, hold on. You're saying a chimp, like throwing darts at a board, would have a better grip on reality than I do? Honestly, that's kind of insulting. But I guess I did fail your quiz pretty badly.
You missed it by over 400%.
Yeah.
But look, this isn't about blaming you or me or anyone. Rosling called this his final battle, a battle against devastating global ignorance. He argued our misunderstanding isn't about intelligence. It's a systematic bug in our brains.
But how? We're drowning in information. How can we still be so wrong about the basics? If things are getting better, why is that not the headline?
That is the perfect question. It brings us right to Rosling's core idea. We all suffer from the overdramatic worldview.
The overdramatic worldview.
Yeah. I mean, think about our wiring. Our brains evolved for immediate local survival, right?
Right, running from lions and stuff.
Exactly. They thrive on drama, on urgency, on fear, because that's what kept our ancestors alive. But those same instincts are just terrible at processing slow, incremental, global data.
So the news isn't lying, necessarily. They're just feeding the beast. They're playing to our brain's love of drama because that's what gets clicked.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
You see the one plane that crashes, not the 40 million that land safely every single year.
Yeah.
That's why Rosling's work feels like data as therapy. It's about learning to control these instincts. He called himself a possibilist.
A possibilist.
Someone who doesn't hope or fear blindly. They look at the facts.
Okay. I need some of that therapy. Where do we start? Because for me, it all starts with this huge division. Us and them.
Perfect. That leads us right to the first mental trap we need to escape. The gap instinct.
Or gap instinct.
It's our knee-jerk tendency to divide everything into two neat, opposing groups. Rich versus poor. The West versus the rest. Developed versus developing.
But come on, that gap is real, isn't it? I mean, the life of a family in Sweden versus a family in Somalia. That's a massive gap. It's not imaginary.
That is the assumption. But here's where it gets really interesting. Rosling created this project called Dollar Street. And it's brilliant. They didn't sort the world by countries. They sorted it by daily income.
Okay.
And what they found was stunning. Life isn't structured by geography. It's structured by income. The huge gap we imagine, it just disappears. It's actually a long, continuous street.
So you're saying a family in rural America on $2 a day has more in common with a family in rural India on $2 a day than with their own countrymen?
Precisely. Let's break it down into what he called the 4 income levels. It makes it super clear. So, level 4.
Right.
That's where about 1 billion people live, making over $32 a day.
That's us, right? People listening to this?
Mostly, yeah. We have hot water, cars, we plan vacations. And Rosling's big warning for us on level 4 is that we have to struggle really hard not to misunderstand the other 6 billion people.
Okay, so where is everyone else?
75% of humanity lives in the middle, on levels 2 and 3.
But level 1, that's what I picture when I hear extreme poverty. What does that look like?
Level 1 is where about 1 billion people still live, on less than $2 a day. It's tough. People often walk barefoot. And to make it really tangible, think about a toothbrush. On level 1, an entire family might share one single toothbrush.
Wow. Okay, that one image says everything. True scarcity.
It really does.
Yeah.
But now, level 3. This is the big hump in the middle, home to about 2 billion people. Here, a family has a motorbike, the kids are vaccinated, they've got electricity, and you know what their big ambition is? Their dream.
What is it?
To buy a washing machine.
A washing machine.
That machine is the symbol. It's the magic dividing line between constant, back-breaking labor and time.
Time. Right. Time to read or for the kids to do homework.
It changes everything. So the big takeaway is this. The world isn't split in two. Most people are in the middle, and they are moving up. The us versus them idea is just flat out wrong.
Okay, I get that. I really do. But it doesn't stop me from waking up and feeling anxious. I mean, but have you seen the headlines? The world is on fire. It's war. It's climate disasters. It's financial collapse. How do you square that progress with my daily dose of doom?
You've just walked right into our second mental trap, the negativity instinct. We are biologically wired to pay more attention to the bad than the good. It's a survival mechanism, and surveys prove it. Most people in most countries think the world is getting worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at climate change. That is a real, terrifying existential threat. Or conflicts breaking out. That doesn't feel like progress to me. It feels like we're going backwards.
And this is maybe the most important idea in the whole book. Rosling says you have to understand that things can be bad and better at the same time.
Bad and better.
You have to hold both ideas in your head. Let me use his analogy. The premature baby in the incubator.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine the world is a premature baby. Is the baby's condition bad? Yes, absolutely. It's critical. It needs constant help. But is the baby's condition getting better? Also, yes. Every hour, its vitals are improving. It's gaining a tiny bit of weight.
Right, so you wouldn't look at the baby and say, everything's fine, but you also wouldn't say, it's hopeless, pull the plug.
Exactly. You have to apply that same thinking to global data.
Give me a real-world example.
Infant mortality. It's a perfect one. Last year, 4.2 million babies died before their first birthday. That number is horrible. It's a tragedy. That is the bad.
It's awful, unacceptable.
It is. But now let's apply the better. We have to compare. In 1950, when the world had way fewer people, that number was 14.4 million.
14, wow.
The trend is dramatically beautifully down. It's a 70% reduction. Or look at battle deaths. In the 20th century, they were horrifically high. Now, they're at a historic low. The scale of violence is just, it's a fraction of what it was.
I mean, when you put the comparison number next to it, the perspective just completely shifts. You never hear that part.
Yeah. You never do. And that progress, that's what lets people get that washing machine we talked about. Rosling tells this incredible story about his mother getting her first one. For his grandmother, who had spent her life washing by hand, it wasn't a machine. It was a miracle. It was the gift of time.
Time she could then spend with her son.
Time she used to take him to the library and read to him. He credits that washing machine with his entire career. That's slow progress. It's not a headline, but it changes the world.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light.
Right.
But this is where the anxiety really kicks in for me. If everything is getting better and more people are living better lives, aren't we just going to run out of everything? The population is just going up and up and up. We're heading for total collapse.
And now you've hit the straight line instinct. The automatic assumption that a line on a graph will just keep going in the same direction forever.
Yeah, that seems logical.
Rosling used a funny analogy. His grandson, Mino. When Mino was a baby, he grew super fast. If you drew a straight line from that growth rate, he'd be a 13-foot-tall teenager.
Huh. Okay, I see your point. That's absurd.
Of course. Growth curves bend. And the human population curve is bending. Hard. Here's the single most stunning fact in the whole book from UN data. The number of children in the world today, kids under 15, is 2 billion.
Okay.
The UN projects that in the year 2100, the number of children will be 2 billion.
Wait, the same? How? How is that possible? If the number of kids isn't growing, how do we get to 11 billion people? That makes no sense.
It's called the fill-up effect.
Right.
We don't need a baby boom to get to 11 billion. The extra 3 billion people will be adults who are already alive today as children. They're just going to grow up and fill up the older age brackets.
So the growth is already baked in. It's momentum, not a runaway train.
It's momentum. The fastest period of growth is already over. And here is the most beautiful, counterintuitive part of it all. The single most effective way to slow population growth is to save poor children.
How does that work?
When parents know their kids will survive, when child mortality drops, they choose to have fewer children. It's happened everywhere, in every culture. Better healthcare and education for the poor are the best forms of birth control on the planet.
It flips the entire script on overpopulation. Progress isn't the problem. Progress is the solution.
It is. Which brings us to the really practical question. How do we live with this knowledge? How do we stop doom scrolling when the news is basically designed to trigger all these bad instincts?
Yeah, I get caught in it all the time. I see a scary headline and I feel this urgency. Like the world will end tomorrow if we don't fix it right now.
That's the urgency instinct. It's designed to shut down your thinking brain. So Rosling gives us a simple rule. When you see a big, scary number like the 4.2 million babies,
It felt huge.
the golden rule is never leave a number by itself. Always ask for a comparison or a rate. 4.2 million is a tragedy. But 4.2 million compared to 14.4 million is a story of incredible progress. Context is everything.
So if I see a headline about a huge wildfire, I should ask, okay, compared to when? What's the 10-year average? Is this a trend or an outlier?
Exactly. And you have to actively look for the slow progress that never makes the news. This is how you fight the destiny instinct, the idea that things are the way they are and will never change.
Right.
Think about protected land. In 1900, it was basically zero. 0.03% of the planet's land was protected. The increase each year was tiny, invisible. But that slow, boring, consistent progress added up. Today, it's 15%.
15%. That is a massive silent victory.
It's proof that while the headlines are loud, the slow foundational work of civilization is moving forward. So at the end of the day, the core message of Factfulness is, it's balanced. The world is still bad in many ways. We have serious, huge problems to solve, especially climate change. But the data is crystal clear. The world is also getting much, much better. And that makes future progress a real possibility, not just some flimsy hope.
It is hard. It's hard to hold that view when the media is constantly pushing you to panic. But just reframing the world from 2 boxes into 4 levels and realizing most people are in the middle, that alone feels like a huge mental upgrade. It makes the world's problems feel solvable.
It's a move toward rational optimism, which is what we all need. So here's the question for you listening. Be honest, after this deep dive, do you think you passed a chimpanzee test? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to keep upgrading your brain, click the video on the left. We selected another deep dive just for you. And hit the logo to subscribe for your daily dose of wisdom. See you there.